Hi everyone, Candy Tobias with Devoted to Travel, and we're going to talk about getting around Italy. So when you're traveling in Italy, you're probably going to want to see a couple of cities. And you start to think, well, how am I going to get from Venice to Rome or Milan? Train? Can I rent a car? Should I rent a car? What makes the most sense? You've probably heard some scary things about maybe both. Traveling with luggage can be difficult on the train. Renting a car, driving in a foreign country may seem quite scary. I'd say, yes, it can be difficult traveling by train with luggage. And yes, there's going to be some differences with renting a car. So let's talk about the two options and what might make most sense. If you're just going between major cities like Venice, Rome, Florence, Milan, even Sicily, you're probably going to want to take the train. Probably. If you have a lot of luggage, it's going to become a little bit more difficult. If you're traveling with kids, it might be a better choice to get a car. I will say, do not drive in any of the major cities. You do not want to drive in Rome or Florence or Milan. Italian drivers are very confident. They're very aggressive. I had a driver once tell me that, oh, those rules and signs, we just take them as a suggestion. And he's not kidding. You have to drive aggressive. Now, if you want to explore Tuscany and you want to go on some country roads, it's not very scary. You're not going to have to worry about all the traffic. They drive on the right side of the road. But there are some other things you do need to consider before you say, yep, that makes sense. I'm going to go get a rental car. It'll be fine. If you're going to rent a car, what do you need to know? Well, you have to get an international driving permit. Not difficult, but you have to get one. Now, I will say some of the rental car companies will not ask for it. But if you get stopped and you don't have it, you're going to be in trouble. The only place it's authorized for the international driving permits is AAA. So if you have a local AAA, head over to them and get the permit. It's about $20. If it's not local, you can go online and you can fill out, print a form and mail it in. As I said, they drive on the right side of the road, so no difficulties there, what we're used to. When you rent a car, the best place probably to rent a car is at the airport, or if you are taking a cruise and you want to add land on and you want to drive, which we have done, you can get the Rome port, which is not Rome. If you've watched some of my other videos, it's Civitavecchia. You can rent a car there. It's going to be probably a tiny little place that the car's parked on the side of the road. The cost of renting a car is not going to be less than a train. In fact, prepare yourself. It's probably going to be fairly costly. And there's a lot of additional costs you have to add in. They require by law insurance to be added onto the rental car collision. So you can't waive it like you can in many other places. You will have to have the collision. Fuel is quite expensive, so you have to add in that cost. Tolls are much more expensive than you would think. So if you're going from like Rome to Milan, it's about 42 euros. So tolls are fairly expensive. Parking is the other big one. It's not easy to park. Some of the cities, smaller ones, we were fine. We found parking. San Gimignano and Tuscany, no problem. We lucked out. There were some other smaller towns that we drove around and could not find parking and ended up actually in one spot, not even going to dinner where we planned because we weren't able to find parking. Anywhere you see blue lines, it's paid parking. You're going to want to have some coins on you. Possibly there's more and more where you can pay through a machine. It could also be the closest tobacco store. I know it sounds crazy, but all these things you kind of have to prepare for. I didn't scare you away, or if I did and now you're thinking trains, let's talk about the options for taking a train. There are several different rail carriers, but there's two main ones in Italy. Trenitalia is government owned. It's probably the main train that most people take, but there's also Italio, and that one is private. They both have several trains. That is the one great thing. There are multiple trains. Some of the major routes, there's like 95 trains a day. You have high speed and you have regional. So you want to pay attention to which one you're booking. If you're going between major cities, like I said, Rome to Venice is about 3 hours on a high speed. On a regional, you're not going to, when you buy the ticket, you're not picking a particular seat. On the high speed, if you do first class, you can purchase particular seats. So let's talk about that. There's two different classes. They vary slightly in name, but it's basically first class and standard or second class. So the standard or second class are going to be the cheaper seats. There's not as much room. So depending on how much luggage you have, think about that. First class is going to have more room, more space. The luggage rack above your head is going to be bigger. And there's not like a luggage car. It's just at the end of each car, they pile up the luggage, kind of like where you get on. So you will want to keep an eye on your luggage as you're traveling by train. If you buy your tickets online, it will save you money. You also do not have to validate your tickets. So you might be thinking, what validate? What do you mean? If you buy your tickets at the train station, there's machines that you have to validate the ticket. You will be fined if they're not validated before you get on the train. If you do it online, you don't have to worry about that. So I always suggest doing it online, but know that the tickets are not available that far in advance. It's around 3 to 4 months ahead of time. So if you know the time of day you want and date, you can buy them, even 2 weeks in advance should be fine. So you don't need to get those far in advance. The trains do not sit at the station very long. So you want to make sure you're there ahead of time. You know where the train is coming in. If you buy first class tickets, the train car will have a 1 on it. It's a 1 or a 2. First class are on the end of the train. Now, it could be the front, it could be the back end. It just depends which way the train pulls in. I typically stand somewhere towards the middle because if I'm on one end and I'm on the wrong end, they don't stay there that long. To try and get with luggage all the way to the other end, it's going to be a challenge. And then trying to get through car to car while you're on the train with luggage is going to be even more difficult. This is where a travel advisor can really help you make the best choice based on what you're doing, how you're going to be traveling, and what makes sense. Either way, just know you're in a foreign place. You're probably doing something you're not used to, right? You haven't rented a car, you haven't been to Italy before, or you have not been on their trains. It's going to be a little bit probably overwhelming. You're going to have to figure out a few things. You may have some future laughs that in the moment will not seem too funny, but pack your patience, and most people are very gracious and will help you out. So whether you go by train or by auto, just explore the country. It's a beautiful country. Enjoy Italy. I'm here to answer questions. Go ahead and private message me. You can put them below. Follow along for additional information. I have several videos on Italy. Feel free to share this with somebody that needs it, and we'll talk again soon. Ciao.